Check that hat out, eh? Charlotte Hornets. Fucking love that hat. Anyways, I'm going to take a moment to explain why some things happen with the body that most people don't understand so that they can counter it and they can overcome it. Because a lot of people will invest time and effort over time, and initially they might get a return on their investment, but investing the same amount of time and effort later doesn't provide the same return on investment, and people can't understand why, and they get very, very frustrated. So I'm going to explain why that happens real quick and what you can do about it so that you can avoid it or just break out of it if you're stuck in it. And when I say it or break out of it or what it is a plateau. So plateau, a lot of people have heard of a plateau, and they hit a plateau and they just get stuck and they don't know what to do. So what happens is when you start working out, your workouts are perceived by your body as a disturbance. You're disturbing your body's current state, and the body's going to respond and adapt in a positive way. It's very sensitive to the disturbance, so it will make the necessary adaptations needed so that it can combat the disturbance the next time that it faces it. So the body's in the state that it's in today based on current events. If you did a workout a year ago or 2 years ago, the response you got from it is gone by now. It is not a current event anymore, and therefore the result is lost. But if you've been working out consistently, you're in the shape that you're in the state that you're in, because your body has adapted and adjusted to the current demands that you have been subjecting it to. So what happens is the first response that the body will take is a neurological one, because it's a lot easier to just get better at doing something, to just get better at doing what is disturbing it, than it is to make any sort of physical change. If you keep disturbing it, you get as good as you possibly could at performing what is ever disturbing it, and then your body's going to be fighting back by saying, you know what, we're going to have to build some muscle. And the body will build muscle. A lot of people don't know this or don't understand this. Your body builds muscle to protect itself from the disturbance. So if you're disturbing it, it's going to say, you know what, this could potentially be harmful. We're as good at performing these exercises or doing these movements as we can be. To be better prepared, we're going to have to put some muscle on. And if you provide your body with the nutrients and the rest and the hydration needed to build muscle optimally, you're putting yourself in a good position to actually build some muscle. But once it's built enough muscle, once it's as efficient as possible, what once disturbed it and its state won't anymore. Your body will say to you, you know what? That's not much of a disturbance anymore. I can do this every single day like we've been doing over a sustained period of time, and I can keep doing it. I don't need to adapt anymore. I don't need to respond. So what you want to do, if you get to this point where you've become desensitized to your training, is you want to resensitize your body to your training. Now, how do you resensitize to something? You stop fucking doing it. You take time off. Now, that's a pretty hard pill for most people to swallow. They're going to say, oh, you know what? Absolutely not. There's no fucking way I'm taking time off. Investing time and effort is what provided the return on the investment that I've got, so I'm not going to stop investing. And that's okay. I've got some strategies for you if you insist on investing. But real quick, if we talk about sensitivity, the way your body perceives training is no different than the way it perceives alcohol or anything else. You had a drink when you were like 14 years old and you're like, holy fuck, I was buzzed or drunk real quick. And then you did that for years through your teenage years and into your 20s, and you developed what was called a tolerance for alcohol. What happened was you became desensitized to the effects of alcohol. And the same thing that happens to alcohol can also happen through your training. You want to resensitize to your training. So time off is going to do that, because as anyone knows that's quit drinking for a little bit, you go back, you have a drink, boom, you're buzzed after one drink again, saying, holy fuck, I didn't expect that response. Why did that happen? Because you're resensitized, you idiot. That's why. So you want to do the same thing with your training. I got a couple strategies for you to help prevent becoming desensitized or to resensitize if you've become desensitized. So the first one, to prevent becoming desensitized, every 4th week or 5th or 6th or up to 10th or whatever, depending on how quickly you become desensitized, take a week to unload. Unload or deload, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it consists of taking one of 3 variables and cutting it in half. You take your intensity, you cut it in half. You take your volume and you cut it in half. Or you take the frequency in which you train and cut it in half. Your body's recording everything that you do. So take something and cut it in half. Now, I'll elaborate on those terms for anybody who's not understanding. Intensity is measured one of two ways depending on what you train for. If you train to get stronger, intensity is measured by how much weight you lift. So you're going to want to cut your intensity by 10 to 15%. So I'll give you a practical example. If you can lift 300 pounds, doesn't matter what lift, just you can lift 300 pounds. And generally you like to work with around 270. You like to work light enough that you can get a lot of work in, so that you can get a lot of good reps to practice, so that you can build strength, because you understand that strength is built through stress and repetition, not by performing tests of 1 rep maxes. So you use around 85%. To deload, you would use 65 to 70%. Take 10 to 15% off. Keep doing everything you do, but for 1 week, take 10 to 15% off. If you train to build muscle, what you can do is intensity is measured by your effort, or the amount of stress the muscle is under. If your muscles are performing work to failure, that would be a maximum effort. So you would want to limit the intensity that you're subjecting your muscles to. And you do that by, if you train to failure, stop 2 or 3 reps shy. So if you know that you can't do more than 10, stop at 7 just cause. What you're going to do is you're going to prevent your muscles from becoming desensitized. As for volume, cut something in half there. Cut the amount of exercises you do in half for a week. Count the amount of sets you do in half for a week. Count the amount of reps you do in half. Just cut something in half. Understand that the purpose of this deload is not to bring you closer to your goal. Your training should be designed to bring you as close to your goal as possible, and hopefully achieving it. The purpose of the deload is to resensitize your body to the program that is going to take you to your goal. So cutting your reps in half, or your sets, or your exercises is not going to have a negative effect long term. Also, because you're cutting it in half, you're essentially doubling, maybe not doubling, but you know what I mean, the amount of recovery that you get from the work that you do. So you'll be more recovered when you go back to it. So you'll have a super compensation effect. You'll be stronger, probably. Glycogen stores will be fuller, hopefully, and your performance will be improved as a result. Now, as for frequency, people that want to get stronger generally train a certain lift or a couple of lifts very frequently, because they understand that strength is a skill that's acquired through stress and repetition. So they want to do things, and they want to do things often. So if you train a lift, let's say 6 days a week, cut it down to 3. If you train it 5 days a week or 4 days a week, cut it down to 2. So those are examples of how you can unload every 4th or beyond week to prevent from becoming desensitized and to promote resensitizing to your training. Another strategy would be to employ what is called a specialization phase, a spec phase, in which you, on one hand, select one lift or body part and increase the rate at what it's trained to try to accelerate growth, and everything else you do like nothing for. But instead of doing nothing, because you probably want to do something, otherwise you would just take time off, and since that's not an option, you got to do something, right? Train it on a maintenance level. Train it, an example, I'll just give you an example. Let's say you want to specialize on your chest or your bench press. You'll train your chest or your bench press 3 days a week, and the other 2 days that you're in the gym, or 1 day or whatever, you train the rest of the body. But you don't want to train it as hard as you're training the chest. It defeats the purpose of trying to combat desensitization or resensitizing your muscles. You just want to do 1 to 2 sets of like 4 to 6 reps with something moderately heavy. Make the muscles do a little bit work. Don't do more because you can. Don't be like, you know what, I know I should only do 1 or 2 sets, but I could do like 3 or 4 and get away with it. And then I could do another exercise for this body part and get away with it. You're missing the forest for the trees. You're missing the big picture if that's how you're looking at it. The purpose is to allow other muscles to resensitize. And you can basically run specialization phase after specialization phase after specialization phase if you wanted to. For example, you could specialize the chest for a couple of weeks, everything else on a maintenance level. Then the back for a couple of weeks, everything else on a maintenance level. Then the legs for a couple of weeks, everything else on maintenance. And the benefit to training like that would be accelerated growth for the area that you're training, but it will become desensitized rather quickly, and everything else gets put on hold, so they resensitize. So then when you hit them at a higher frequency, boom, accelerated growth. Would you not want to take 2 steps forward for one body part and 0 steps for another for a month, and then switch to something else and get 2 steps forward for that? And then after like 5 months, all body parts are 2 steps ahead of where they normally would be instead of 1 step ahead. So that's the kind of mindset that you need to look at a specialization phase with. Finally, the last strategy, if you're not going to take time off to resensitize to your work, is planned time off, a little bit of time off, like a week off. It's called strategic deconditioning, where you assume that after every 2 months, 3 months, or every program that you do, if you follow programs and stuff like that, that you're going to take roughly 10 days off. So if your last workout day is a Friday and your next workout day is supposed to be a Monday, you start the following Monday. So you got like roughly 9-10 days off there from your training. And what that'll do, number one, the purpose is to resensitize so that when you go back to your training, it has a greater effect than it would if you just kept training. Number two, there's a super compensation effect. Fatigue masks fitness. So if you can recover, you can illustrate or demonstrate or showcase what you're truly capable of. You'll perform better. And if you perform better, that will facilitate greater results. Obviously, you got to focus on resting, recovery, nutrition, a lot of different things. But you're putting yourself in the best spot physically to perform better. And then finally, a benefit to strategic deconditioning. When you work out, the body is designed to survive. So we've got different types of muscle fibers so that we can, get through our days and overcome whatever situations we're faced with. We got slow twitch muscle fibers, which their capacity to produce force is limited, but they can produce it for a sustained period of time. Then you got fast twitch fibers, and there's 2 different classifications. There's 2A and 2B. 2A have a higher capacity to produce force. They're larger than slow twitch muscle fibers, but they can't produce force for as long. And then 2B are even stronger and bigger. Their capacity to produce force is the greatest, but they can't sustain that force for very much time at all. And what happens is these are basically survival fibers or reserve fibers. When you train frequently, your body is going to adapt and respond to the disturbance. And it's going to say, you know what, we're frequently being disturbed. We don't need these reserve fibers. We know we're going to need them on a daily basis. So the reserve fibers will take on the properties of the regular 2A fast twitch fibers. And when you take a week off or time off, enough time off, the 2A fibers, the ones that converted from 2B, will convert back to 2B. So when you go back to the gym, because you've made that conversion, or you've promoted that conversion anyways with the time off, you might be able to lift more weight. And if you lift more weight for more times, greater time under optimal or maximal tension, that can facilitate greater growth. So there are many, many benefits to taking time off, but you must understand that your body has a remarkable ability to adapt. And what we want to do through our training is promote adaptation up into a point. When it becomes fully adapted and it's no longer responsive to your training, it's because it's desensitized to your training. And if you want to kickstart progression again, you need to find a way to become resensitized to your training. Time off is the obvious answer. But if you can't do that, because for whatever reason, the gym is just, you're married to it and you have to go, then you can employ any of the strategies that I just discussed, and they should help you combat that, so that when you get back to your regular training, which should be designed around bringing you to your goal, it will take you there faster. If you like this information, feel free to share it. If you know somebody that's just spinning wheels, they're not getting results anymore, they're investing time and effort and the return just isn't there, share this with them. You're helping them. You should feel good about helping somebody, especially when it's for free. And all it takes is a fucking click, man. The world that we live in, things are so easy. You just click, you just tag somebody. It's not difficult. It requires almost no effort at all to help somebody else. If you like it, click the fucking button at the bottom, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to keep bringing it.